and starting the webinar now.
Cool. All right, for those of you joining us, welcome. I'm going to give it a minute just so I can make sure everyone's getting in. But just a few housekeeping things in the meantime. If you do have any questions throughout this webinar, you can find the Q&A feature on the taskbar in this webinar, and that's where we're going to ask you to ask any questions that you have. I do have some teammates on the back end that are there to answer any questions, so they'll be answering them throughout the entire webinar. Otherwise, at the end, we will have a little bit of time for Q&A or to answer any outstanding questions. But like I said, if you can please put those in the Q&A feature, that would be awesome, not the chat feature. The chat feature, we're going to be using on our end to drop some helpful links for you all so you can follow along, follow those links when we get to them. So try to stay clear of the chat section and just put those questions in the Q&A. I'm also going to be doing a couple polls throughout. So just if you want to get familiar with some of those, the different features that are listed on that taskbar, feel free, and then we'll get started here in just a few moments. All right, so it looks like the number of participants is starting to slow down. So I'm going to get started. Again, welcome everyone to the housing info session for the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. My name is Michaela. I am an admissions counselor here at UCCS. I also graduated from UCCS though, so I got my bachelor's degree in psychology, and I'm an out-of-stater, so I moved to Colorado Springs to attend UCCS from Minnesota originally. So I also lived in the on-campus housing when I was a freshman. So I'm here to give you a bunch of information about our housing, share a little bit of my perspective from when I lived on campus. But we also do have one of our lovely students here helping me out today who currently lives on campus now. So I'm going to hand it over to her so she can introduce herself. Courtney, if you want to take it away.
Hi, I'm Courtney Smith. So I am a freshman here at UCCS. I'm from Pueblo, Colorado, so only about like an hour south of Springs. I'm majoring in psychology. I'm also with Clyde's Guide, so I'm one of the tour guides on campus, along with I'm in Live Leadership, which is a scholarship, so you guys should check it out. It's pretty fun, along with UCCS Lead and some other campus activities.
Thank you, Courtney. Yeah, so if any of you come to tour campus, there is a possibility you'll end up with Courtney as your tour guide. So just pointing that out there for you all. But moving right along, I'm going to give you a little bit of general information about UCCS before we dive into the housing specifically. So UCCS stands for University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. We are part of the CU system. So the same system as CU Denver and CU Boulder. So when you graduate from UCCS, your degree will be a University of Colorado diploma. We are the smallest and newest campus of the CU system, however. So with that being said, we're about a medium-sized school within the state of Colorado. We're sitting at right about 12,000 students, 10,000 undergraduate, 2,000 graduate students. We are located in Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs is the second largest city in Colorado, just after Denver. So for any of you who haven't been to Colorado before or haven't been to Colorado Springs before, we are about an hour and a half south of Denver, the capital city of Colorado. I wanted to touch a little bit as well. I know that Courtney mentioned she's from Pueblo. I mentioned I'm from Minnesota. But if you look under the, there should be a raise hand feature on your screens. So I wanted to check and see how many of you have toured campus before. Have you been on a formal tour at UCCS? Okay, a lot of you. Awesome. So it looks like about half of you at least have been on tour. Definitely recommend it. I think it's one of the best ways for students to come get a feel for what it's like on campus and then just see if it's a good fit for you. It definitely, when I came and toured campus and standing there, seeing that view, you can see in that picture right there of the mountains, that's part of what really sold me. So I always recommend it. It's a great way to see if it'll be a good fit for you. I wanted to turn it back over to Courtney really quick. I wanted to ask you, why did you choose UCCS?
So there are a lot of reasons why I chose UCCS. One being, of course, the location. I wanted to move to a bigger city than Pueblo. So, and Colorado Springs is not that far from my own hometown. So it's kind of like nice to have a little bit of independence from my family, but also be able to visit them. They also have a lot of great opportunities for students. There's all kinds of stuff, all kinds of activities. Student life is super big on UCCS campus. Along with that, campus size is one of the things that I strived for when I was deciding college to go to. I feel like medium schools are, that personally spoke to me just because that's kind of what I wanted. And along with that, UCCS just felt like a kind of piece of home, I came on campus and it just felt like the place where I needed to go because I felt like I belonged and, it just really spoke to me. And I really hope that all of you find that within your college education.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Courtney. If you guys don't mind, this one's a little more of a fun question, but with that raise hand feature again, how many of you have seen snow before? A lot of you, most of you. Perfect. Well, if some of you haven't, I just wanted to point that out. That was part of the reason that I moved here was because it was actually warmer than where I was coming from. So if some of you haven't seen snow before, you might be moving somewhere a little bit colder, but I will say it's pretty moderate. You get all 4 seasons. It's awesome. So I'm going to move along to more to talk about our agenda for the day. So first of all, we're going to have Courtney take us on a little mini tour of her room in her residence hall at UCCS. And we're going to talk about some of the big questions that people normally have about living on campus. And then we're going to go into just some of the general information about our housing at UCCS. After that, though, I am going to touch on claiming your account and then I'll walk you through the housing application. And then we'll finish it up with some key dates for you all to keep in mind, as well as some more Q&A if you do have any more questions. All right, so housing at UCCS. Before I hand it over to Courtney, I do want to touch on a couple things, so it's not a complete surprise to you, but at UCCS, you've probably heard me refer to living on campus in the residence halls rather than dorms. That's because we don't typically call our housing on campus dorms. All of our housing is suite style at UCCS. And so what that basically means is you will never be sharing a bathroom with anyone other than the people who live in your room with you. So there's different floor plans. Some people will have a few more roommates than others, but essentially you'll never have to walk down the hall with your shower caddy and wait in line to take a shower. That was huge for me. I was excited about that because I'd heard horror stories from other friends who were, older and had experienced that on their campus. So that's an exciting thing for us, but we do have about 1,500 students living on campus right now. The total capacity is 1,700, but we are reserving some rooms for like quarantine and isolation purposes. So we're hoping to reach closer to that capacity once we navigate through this pandemic. But for now, we're right at about 1,500 students. We do have 2 different housing villages on campus. So there's 2 different areas that you'll end up. If you can see on my map over here, the one in the central campus area is called Summit Village. That's our original housing for first year students. And then as the campus grew and got bigger, we also added on this village at Alpine Valley that you can see in the top left corner. So both of them have housing for first year students. However, Village at Alpine Valley also has some upperclassmen apartment options. So that's one of the differences between the two, but both of them are great options for you. And we'll get to explore a little bit of the similarities and differences in just a few minutes here. For directional purposes, the left-hand side of this map is west. So that's one thing I learned when I moved to Colorado Springs. If you are unfamiliar or if you're really directionally challenged like me, if you can see the mountains while you're in Colorado Springs, that is west. So it'll help you keep oriented while you're trying to navigate campus when you first get here. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it back over to Courtney, and she is going to give you a little tour of her room and talk about her experience at UCCS so far.
Okay, so first of all, I live in Summit Village. I am in a double, so there would be 4 people in here. But since I was not placed with a roommate, it's just me in my room, and then I have my 2 other roommates' room. Give me just a second to flip my camera. Okay. So right here, we have my side of the room. So I just have my bed right there. And then I have this kind of wardrobe situation right here. It's very spacious. It's very deep, if you can see that. So there's a lot of room for your clothes. So don't be concerned about that. And then over here, we have my desk. I just have like a bunch of my stuff on it. So, and yes, you can bring the little wax melters. So since candles aren't allowed, I would recommend that to make your room smell good. And then here is the other side of the room. This is kind of what it's going to look like when you move onto campus before you have everything set up. I have my fan and my little salt lamp over there, but this is pretty much what you're gonna get. Let me give you guys a view. So it's pretty, like, it's really spacious, if you can kind of get a feel for it. But if we go outside, we go into the main living area. My roommates have a microwave and a fridge right there. I have my fridge right over here. And then we have the 2 little seats. Over here, I brought a TV, so we have my TV right there. Over here, we have like a little coat rack right there, and then just the door that leads into the hallway. And then if we go around here, we have the sinks. So we do have 2 sinks, and then there's a bunch of space under there to put, like, we put paper towels and toilet paper down there for extra use. And then over here, we just have a shelf unit, so lots of space to store all your stuff. And then through there is the toilet and the shower. Both are, all shared by your roommates, but that's pretty much the tour. There are RAs on every floor, so you don't have to worry about that. A lot of times there might be like a couple, just if the houses are interconnected. So for instance, like, I have my own personal RA, but further down the hall, there's another RA. Our RAs, of course, have meetings. So if you have any like questions or anything like that, you can always bring it up at a meeting or go and ask them about it by just texting them. They're really there for you to help you kind of adjust into college living. With the RAs, they also throw like special kind of nights for the students to get to know one another. For instance, a few weeks back, we had a donut stress night where they gave out donuts, and then we got to go watch some movies and kind of just de-stress, make stress balls. It was really fun. So there's lots of opportunities on campus.
Thank you so much, Courtney. I'm also going to ask you one more question. Living on campus, is there air conditioning? I know people ask that a lot.
No, there is not air conditioning, but there is a heater, so you don't have to worry about the winter. If you guys can see this big window right beside me, it opens all the way, so you get a lot of air, especially since we are on a hill. So you're gonna get a lot of wind, but I would definitely suggest bringing a fan just in case for the more, hotter months. But that really doesn't last very long, so don't worry about, overheating in there.
Yeah, once around September, October, by the time it hits October, it's definitely a lot cooler. It gets cooler at night too. So I know even when I lived on campus, that never was really a struggle for me either. Just had my fan going a lot of the time. Another question for you, Courtney. What is the laundry situation?
So there is a laundry facility in both Summit Village and Alpine Village. You pretty much just go there and go do your laundry, but the machines are all free. So that is definitely a plus. You don't have to bring your little coin pouch or anything. Pretty much you just bring your detergent, your dryer sheets, and then of course your laundry. Go in there, put it in, get it done. We also have an app that tells you which machines are open at the time, so you never have to wait in line. It's great. Luckily for me, I live in the building that has the laundry facility in Summit Village, Keystone. So I pretty much just have to go downstairs and do it.
That is lucky for you. I did not live in that building, but it still wasn't bad. You just drag your laundry a couple buildings down and it's all good. Okay, cool. So I think I'm going to move on for now, but if I think of other questions, I'll just randomly call you back in. Let me share my screen again. Awesome. So moving along to just general information about our housing and dining at UCCS. So I'm guessing since all of you are on this webinar, you're at least thinking about living on campus, but the big question, do I have to live on campus? The answer is yes, if you are a first-year student, you're under the age of 20, and you have completed less than 30 hours of college coursework after high school graduation. So if you did do any kind of dual enrollment, any kind of college coursework while you were still in high school, that's awesome. It's great that you're ahead of the game. Those credits probably will help you a lot, but as far as the housing requirement, it doesn't count for that. You don't have to live on campus if you're a Colorado resident of El Paso County and you're living with a parent or guardian, but it's definitely encouraged. We welcome it. It's a great way for you to get to know people, meet people on campus, and start getting really immersed into the Mountain Lion family. I will say from my personal experience, I did have tons of friends who were from Colorado Springs themselves, and they still chose to live on campus because they wanted that experience. Two of those friends being my own roommates themselves. So I'm very glad that they chose to live on campus because it was a great experience for me. I'm going to move along to talk about like what the rates of living on campus as well as the different floor plans that we offer. I know I mentioned the suite styles. There's tons of different options for you to choose from. So I'm going to have my colleague Allie drop this link in the chat for you all so you can follow along and go to our housing website. But if you don't want to, that's totally fine. You can always go back after this webinar. This is gonna be recorded and posted, so you can always come back and reference later if you don't feel like following along right now. So this is what our housing costs are per semester. You can see that they change. They're all over the board there. That's because each one of our floor plans has a little bit of a different price. Pretty much the way you want to look at it is the more privacy you have in your room, it's going to fall on the higher end of the range. And if you're sharing with one or more people in your same bedroom, it's going to fall on the lower end of the range. So you can feel free to take a picture of this. Like I said, this will be recorded, so you can always come back and reference it, as well as every single one of our floor plans on the website has the price listed with it. So you can check them out there. So what's included in that cost? Seems like a pretty high cost, but it includes pretty much everything you're going to need when you're living on campus. So when you look at it that way, you're going to have an all-you-can-eat meal plan that you can use at any time, as many times as you want throughout the day. You don't have to worry about meal swipes or anything like that. You can run in and grab an ice cream cone and then 20 minutes later go grab an apple and then eat your 3 other meals on top of that. So you won't have to worry about any food, paying for any additional food. It'll include parking on campus, as well as your internet, utilities, the on-campus shuttle service, and laundry. So pretty much anything you can think of with living on campus is going to be included in that cost. I did mention parking. Freshmen are allowed to have cars on campus. It's really up to you if you want to bring one or not. In this bottom left-hand corner, you can see the soccer field. That's actually a parking garage. So all of our freshmen who bring cars will be allowed to park in this parking garage, and it's right across the street from Village at Alpine Valley. So it's really convenient for those students. A little bit more of a walk for students at Summit Village, but like I mentioned, we have that campus shuttle that runs very frequently for you to hop on as well. Courtney, I was going to ask you, do you have your car on campus?
Yes, I do have my car on campus. I chose to bring it mainly just because I live so close that when I want to, take a little trip down to Pueblo to go see my family, I can on the weekend. It's also very helpful if I need to go to Target for anything, such as like cleaning supplies. But you can also get cleaning supplies on your floor, just so you know. But other things, necessities. So I just chose to bring my car because it felt like the best plan for me, just because that's really what I wanted to do, especially since I have lived in Colorado for so long. If I want to go somewhere, I can, but that does not mean you have to bring your car. As Michaela previously mentioned, we do have the metro running through. And a lot of people carpool. So don't worry about it if you don't have a car or are choosing not to bring it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll add, I was the opposite. I didn't bring a car when I moved here. I just got on a plane and brought my one suitcase out here. So I didn't have a car, but I will say that I never really had a problem hopping in with a friend. People were always willing to give me a ride if they were going to head over to the movies or if they wanted to go on a Target run, because Target's the best. So I never had a problem with it. I didn't have a car for my first 3 years there. So I found that people were always willing to help with carpooling. I'm going to move on to the next slide and talk a little bit more about meal plans, what that looks like for first year students at UCCS. So like I mentioned, it is an all you can eat meal plan. It's unlimited entry during the business hours. But you can depend, like regardless of which housing village you live in, you can use it at either dining facility. So we have 2 dining facilities on campus. One is right by Summit Village, one is right by Village at Alpine Valley. And any student living on campus can go to either of those at any time. So some people have preferences, some might just like it because it's closer, but I wanted to ask you, Courtney, how's the food? What do you think of it?
I would say that the food is actually really good. Even if you are missing some type of recipe within your household, you can submit that in to the dining facility and they'll try to recreate it. So there's always options for you. They have a lot of options, including things for, gluten allergies and maybe dairy allergies. They have a whole section marked off that is gluten-free. So for those of you that may have an allergy to that, it's there for you. You can also have a lot of special requests and they're gonna meet with you to try to meet your dietary needs.
Awesome. Yeah, I will say too, when I was a student, they always have a salad bar. They always have sandwich materials for you to make sandwiches. So even if you are a picky eater, I was a pretty picky eater. I still found things like that I could always rely on if there wasn't anything else I wanted. But they always are switching it up. There's always new things they're rotating through. So yeah, I do want to point out as well with your meal plan, you get 10 guest swipes per semester. So if you have family coming to visit, friends coming to visit, you can bring them there, swipe them in, don't have to go pay for food at a restaurant. You're right there at your own restaurant. And then you'll also get 50 flex dollars per semester. So you can use that at our coffee shops. You can use that. We have a little convenience store. I personally always used all of my flex dollars on Ben & Jerry's ice cream at the convenience store, and I don't regret any of it. So you can use it however you want, but it does expire. So you use it. Definitely encourage you to use it. Alrighty. So now we're going to look a little bit closer at the 2 different villages, the floor plans they offer, and like what the differences might be between the two, but we're going to start out with Summit Village. So these names that are listed underneath Summit Village are the names of all the different houses within the village. This is where I want you guys to use this poll that you can find at the bottom of your page. The first poll, oh, I missed it. Where are you from? Well, you can answer that one if you would like. But poll number 2, oh, I have to launch it. Never mind. Okay, so I'm posting this poll and it's what is the theme of the names for the housing? So Monarch, Vale, Telluride. There's a couple different options there. So if you can go in there. Yep. Okay, everyone knows exactly. Good job. I always get really excited about that. The houses are all named after the different ski resorts. So you heard her mention Keystone. I was in Aspen when I was a student, so it's just fun. That was just a fun question for you all. But so Summit Village, we're gonna look at the floor plans that it offers. So the first page here, I'm gonna run through these really quickly, but I want you all to have a basic understanding of what the floor plans will look like, what you'd be choosing from when you're applying to housing. So you can see here on this number 1, shared bedroom and a suite. This is the type that I had. So you're sharing, this is what Courtney has as well. So you're sharing your bedroom with one other person. And then there's like a shared living room. And then there's 2 other people sharing a room right across from you, as well as all 4 of you share that bathroom. This one, number 2, that's going to be similar, but it's just 2 of you sharing a room. There isn't someone across from you. So there's only the 2 of you. Then you can see we're moving on to some of these private bedrooms. So if you're wanting more privacy, you don't want to share a bedroom with someone else, totally understand that too. You can see there's private, like this one has 4 private bedrooms, a shared living area, and then the shared bathroom. The same thing with number 4, but the rooms are a little bit bigger. So there's only 3 of you instead of 4 of you. This one is one that's going to be different. And it's different both here in Summit Village as well as in Village at Alpine Valley. In Copper House, they have the option for private bedrooms in a suite, but then it also comes, you can see it in the bottom right-hand corner with a little kitchenette. All of the other rooms, you are more than welcome, like you saw in Courtney's room, to bring a mini fridge, to bring a microwave. You're more than welcome to. But let's say you're moving from really far away and you don't want to bring all of this stuff when you're moving in. You can opt into, or you can put down copper as one of your preferences so that it'll already have this built-in microwave, mini fridge, and a little sink for you. So that's one of your options if you're wanting to skip having to go and get your own mini fridge and microwave, or coordinate that with your roommates. And this is the only house out of both villages that offers this. And then they have the same thing again, just a large private bedroom. So there's only 3 of you instead of 4, but you're still going to have that little kitchenette. The last one that is an option in Summit Village is the Ultimate Introvert Package. It's a private bedroom with a private bathroom. So if you want your entirely own space, you can have that. However, if you are interested in that, I recommend you apply sooner rather than later. We don't have a ton of these and it's pretty popular. So if you are hoping for your own space, apply as soon as you can. These are a couple more pictures of just what the rooms will look like. I'm pretty sure they all actually have double sinks. And then this picture on the right shows the living area. You can see how it goes into both bedrooms. And now we are on to Village at Alpine Valley. So I'm going to open up my next poll. And it's the same thing. It's going to be, what is the theme for the 3 houses at Village at Alpine Valley? Got a couple answers. Nice. Nice. I'm impressed. I had never knew this one until like a week ago. So the correct answer is actually Colorado Rivers. Me and my coworker both thought that the theme was mountain ranges, but it's actually the Colorado Rivers. So thank you all for participating in the polls. I love to see what people answer there. But yeah, so there's 3 buildings in Village at Alpine Valley that are for first-year students. And then, like I mentioned at the very beginning, there is also upperclassmen housing, but I'm not going to be touching on that very much. So We're going to look at the floor plans in Village at Alpine Valley as well, but I'm going to go through them again really quick. They're not too different. One big difference is we actually do have an option for a triple in a suite at Village at Alpine Valley. So instead of just sharing your room with one other person, you actually can be sharing it with 2 other people. So it'll be bunk beds and then another lofted bed in there as well. And then you'll be sharing your like the bathroom with another room with 3 people. So one thing to point out with this option is there's a, like when Courtney showed her room, she has her own desk, her own wardrobe. No matter how many people are in your room, there is one piece of furniture, each type of furniture for each person. So each student will still have a desk in this room. They'll each still have their own wardrobe. So don't think you're missing out on anything there. It's just we're fitting 3 people in, the floor plan's a little different, and it's going to be a bigger room with just more people in it. But as you can see for number 9, there's also the same shared bedroom in a suite option. So that was similar to at Summit Village. Another difference with the 2 villages is that at Alpine Valley, they don't have that shared living room area in their individual suites. Instead, they have on each of their floors like a bigger communal area with couches and TVs and stuff. So that's the biggest difference I would say between the 2, but there's still that space for you to go and hang out and congregate with people on your floor and all of that good stuff. Then you can see they also have the same shared bedroom with, so there's 2 of you with 1 bathroom in this, but you have the same room together. You can see that there's the private bedroom option where you have your own room and you're sharing the bathroom, the large private bedroom option. So there's 1 less of you, but you still have your own room. And then there's also the private bedroom in a 2-person suite. So you're each have your own room, but you're only sharing the bathroom with 1 other person. So now that I've done a brief overview of all the different floor plans and the housing at UCCS, I'm going to talk a little bit more about claiming your account. So I want to use that raise hand feature again. So raise your hand if you have been accepted to UCCS. Awesome. A lot of you have. Cool. And then how many are still waiting on a response from us? A few of you. Awesome. Well, thank you for being patient with us. We've had a lot of applications, but we are getting around to them. So just hold tight and hopefully you'll hear back from us very soon. And then one more question for you. Has anyone claimed your account? So raise your hand if you have claimed your account. Awesome. Actually, a lot of you have. Cool. Well, I'm going to run through that just so everyone knows what the steps are, but claiming your account, one big thing to know is it does not mean you are committing to UCCS. It's just helping you get access to the things that you need to do to move forward and help you make an informed decision, like applying for housing. So when you're claiming your account, you're going to be you can simply go to uccs.edu, and then at the top right-hand corner under tools, there's the button for My UCCS portal. Our little Bitmojis pointing to it there. When you follow that, it's going to bring you to this page. You're going to become very familiar with this page. This is where you're going to log in for everything: financial aid, Canvas once you're in classes, student email, so many things. But for now, you're going to have to go down to this little yellow highlighted button where it says still need to claim your account and follow that link. When you get to this page, you're going to click on this claim your account button. And all you really need to claim your account is your student ID number, your name, and your date of birth. Your student ID number should be included in your acceptance letter in the email or the physical copy. But if you can't find it, no worries. You can reach out to our office, the Office of Admissions, and we'll help you find that right away. You can also reach out to us for those of you who haven't heard back about your application. You can feel free to reach out to us and check on your application status to make sure we have everything we need for you to move forward with the review process. So once you claim your account, then you're eligible to apply for housing. So there's this other link here I think Allie's going to be dropping that in the chat for you all as well, so you can follow along with your application a little bit. So I'll give a few seconds there in case anyone is wanting to type it in or anything like that. And then you see here this apply online. So you have to be admitted student to UCCS before applying. But once you're admitted, you're more than welcome to. The other thing is when you apply to housing at UCCS, it's also not committing you. So you can still apply and put in your preferences as soon as possible, and like in hopes that you'll get your first choices for everything. But even if you decided to go somewhere else, no harm done there. So this is what it'll look like once you are like going to the application, the housing application. The username and password on this application is going to be the same one that you enter for your UCCS portal. And then once you're into your housing portal, this will be your home page. It'll have your profile summary. You will have a roommate code show up for you. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But you're going to click on that application tab in the top left corner. And then this is really important. So this is a screenshot from last year, but when you open the application, there will be an option for 2021 to 2022 housing, and then another one for 2022 to 2023. You'll want to make sure that you're choosing it for 2022 to 2023 because they're still open. So like the one for 2022 is still open for the students who might be moving in this spring. So make sure you're choosing the one that's for this coming fall and that school year. The housing application isn't terribly long. I would set aside around 30 minutes to fill it out. You can always save what you've worked on and return if you don't have a huge chunk of time to work on it right away. I also would recommend ahead of time looking through those floor plans that we already went through in more depth, looking at the different options there so that once you go to apply, you know what you're going to put down for your preferences. And then if you can see on this application, across the top, there's all these different sections, these bubbles. The first 6 are all like administrative stuff, personal information. And then when you get to 7 and 8, where it says application fee, deposit, and the receipt. So when you get to that, there is an application fee and deposit when you're applying, and that's going to be a total of $600. When you break that up, the application fee itself is $100. 200 of that goes towards a security deposit. So if you move out at the end of the school year and everything in your room is good, you'll get that $200 back. And then the last $300 goes towards your bill for the fall semester for housing. So that's what you're putting down right now when you fill out that application. But if you decide not to come to UCCS, you will get most of that back, and I will touch on that later. Towards the end of the application, steps 12 through 16, that's where you're going to be putting in your preferences for the type of room, any themed floors, roommates, all that good stuff is going to be towards the end of the application. For room preference, you can put up to 6 different floor plans and then hopefully you can get into one of those. For the roommate requests, that roommate code I mentioned earlier, you can put that. If you have someone else you want to live with, you can put in their roommate code and they can put in your roommate code, and that's how you request them. You can also have random roommates. There's there's a survey in here that you can answer a bunch of questions to help match you. So that is pretty much in summary what the application will look like for you. Some key dates. So it's already December 9th. So we are past that December 1st housing application opening up. But I would say try to apply as soon as you can. The priority date is March 15th. So you do have plenty of time. However, the sooner you apply, the more likely you're going to get your preferences. So apply this week if you can. Apply as soon as you can, just so you can get those preferences. It's like I mentioned, it's not committing you to coming to UCCS at all. So March 5th is that priority date. You can still apply after that if you are on the fence about coming to UCCS, or you're not too picky about what floor plans you have. You have plenty of time. But starting mid-spring is when you're going to start getting your room assignments. And then early summer is when you're going to find out who your suite mates are. So that's all exciting stuff. And then week of August 14th is move in. And then right after that, really quick after that, is when the semester starts. So this is just your timeline here. The one I want to touch on is May 31st. That is the deadline for your deposit return. So that's $600 that you put down. If you decide not to come to UCCS, you have to let housing know by May 31st that you're not going to be coming here. And then if you let them know before May 31st, you will get $500 out of that $600 back. That $100 application fee, unfortunately, you will not get back, but getting $500 out of that $600 back is great. And we totally understand that UCCS might not be where you are ending up anymore. So we'll definitely work with you there. All right, so here's some housing FAQs. I did mention themed floors. We do have themed floors of all different types. Like there's a Colorado living floor. Allie, who is on the back end in the chat, she lived on that. They did a bunch of outdoorsy stuff throughout the year as a floor together. There's floors based on majors. So I believe there's a nursing floor, education floor, and the floors differ from year to year as well. But those are things you can opt into on your housing application. On the application, you can see all of the different options there. And then we also do have a gender inclusive housing option that you can opt into. That is the only time, if you opt into that you can have people of the opposite sex in the same room as you. Otherwise, all of our floors are co-ed, but within your room, you will be with people of the same sex. So that's another option you can opt into. As far as finding a roommate, you can request someone, like I mentioned, and you can also be put with someone random if you'd prefer. My roommate that I shared a room with, I requested. I met her through a Facebook group. I know that's a really common thing these days. So I met her through that. And then our other two roommates were random. So totally up to you what you're comfortable with. I will say that for me, the random roommate assignment worked out. My random roommate from freshman year is actually still my roommate to this day. So I definitely, from my experience, put a lot of trust in their roommate matching system that they use. I know Courtney touched on RAs. Another thing I want to add in is that does tie into the safety a lot too. There is a RA there to be a support for you. They have an RA on call if there's ever any kind of emergency, as well as we have building security. Our UCCS campus police are awesome. They will be there within minutes. And within all of our housing, you can only get into the building if you are a student who lives in housing. You have to swipe in. No one else can get into the building, which is very, very nice. It's very safe. I always felt extremely safe when I lived on campus. And to this day, I still feel extremely safe at UCCS. We actually were voted one of the safest campus in Colorado. And so our campus police like to make the joke that the biggest crime is feeding the wildlife. So if that gives you any sort of comfort, it's very safe here at UCCS. If you are wanting a housing exemption, there is a form on our website that you can find. And then, like I mentioned, Village at Alpine Valley does have apartments for upperclassmen students as well as graduate students. And then for students who are wanting to live off campus, maybe after their first year, we do have some resources listed on our housing website. You can check out that portal. It'll give you some options if you're looking for something close. Alrighty, so this is about to wrap up my presentation, but we are, after all, the Office of Admissions. If you do have very specific questions about housing, please reach out to our housing, Residence Life and Housing. Their email is simply just housing@uccs.edu, and then you can call them at that phone number listed here as well. But that brings us to our Q&A portion of this webinar. So if there's any, I'll open up our Q&A, see what is going on there. And if there's any questions, feel free to put those in there now. We're happy to answer all of those. Gotcha. So I see, and it looks like someone's answering it, but I'm going to answer this live as well. Where's the best place to eat on campus? So as far as our dining halls, both of them are good. We do have other places to eat on campus as well, outside of just the dining halls. We have an on-campus restaurant called Clyde's. It's a gastropub. It's in the first level of our university center. It's really fun. They host trivia nights. That's a fun place to go eat. And then we also have kind of like a cafe area that you can stop by as well. They'll have pizza, chicken tenders, sub sandwiches. So there's some different options for you.
Hey, Michaela, would you be able to put back up the housing info?
The
slide
yes,
with the
yes.
housing and the phone number for housing?
Yes. How often does the shuttle run? Good question. I believe it's like every 10 minutes. I'll say about 10 minutes. I don't know the exact number. Do you offer tours for those that are out of state? Yeah, so you can actually register for a tour on our website. I can probably drop the link in our chat as well. There's all different times you can RSVP for, and we also have a guided virtual tour if you want to check that out. Good question. You should apply for campus housing even though you haven't received an admissions confirmation. So you will not be able to apply for housing until you are an admitted student. So if you aren't admitted yet, hang tight. But if you are admitted, I would say apply as soon as you can. Looks like a lot of these are being answered. Is housing open or closed during breaks? So good question with the winter break coming up here. I believe the upperclassmen housing is open throughout the entire year. However, housing is not. So during winter break, students do have to move out of their residence halls until they start back up for the spring semester. And the RA will help them with all of that stuff. If they need it, they can keep stuff there, but they have to like unplug things like their mini fridge and things like that. What percent of students live on campus? I don't know the exact percent, but we have about 1,500 living on campus. And for undergrad, we have about 10,000 students. So out of first year students, I don't know the exact percentage, but a big majority of first year students do live on campus. Looks like my team is busy answering all of these questions. Are any types of pets allowed on campus? That is a good question that I actually do not know the answer to. If you do have any specific questions about your situation, I would definitely recommend reaching out to housing.
Chime in on that one quick, Michaela, if you'd like.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah.
So generally they say anything that can fit inside a tank is allowed as for pets. Otherwise, if you do have an emotional support animal or animal of any kind, if you get it registered with our disability services office, then that is also okay to have in housing.
Thank you, Allie. All right, let's see. How late are the dining halls open till? That's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head. I never found that they weren't open late enough, even if I needed some late dinner. So we don't necessarily have like late night dining, but they are open for some pretty good hours during the day. So anytime from when you wake up till later at night, you should be able to go get some food. I see a question, what's not allowed in the suites as far as appliances, furniture, can you hang items on the wall? I believe if I remember correctly, you can hang items on the wall, but you have to use command strips. You can't like nail anything into the wall. As far as other things that wouldn't be allowed, I know candles, like Courtney mentioned earlier, are not allowed. You normally can bring any furniture that you're wanting to use. All right, it looks like most of our questions have been answered here. There aren't any open ones currently. Like I said, if you do have any other questions after this webinar, you can feel free to reach out to our admissions office, or for housing questions specifically, definitely encourage you to reach out to the Residence Life and Housing Department. Otherwise, thank you all so much for attending today. I hope this was some great information for you, and we're looking forward to hopefully you all moving in on campus this coming fall. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar, and feel free to reach out if you have any other questions.